Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to 2023. What a year. We want to start this off with a positive, good vibes, absolutely motivating chat. So I've got an absolute banger of a guest. Before we move on, though, let's talk about some sponsors. We've got the old ones and we've got a couple of freshies coming in for this year. First off, our major sponsor, Trek. These guys have been a supporter of the podcast for a while now. They are a massive part for keeping this thing going. So I want to say thank you to these guys for continuing on in 2023. Now, you'd probably know them for all their bikes, for their slashes, for their rails, for their checkpoints, for anything. They do bike from everywhere. But one thing you probably don't know is they do some pretty damn rad casual clothing. I'm actually looking at getting one of their quilted crew necks for winter. I don't even think summer's arrived yet, but looking at some of their fresh kit, it is killer designs. Doesn't look like just in your face branding. It is pretty damn rad. It looks like really good quality, and I can't wait to get some of it. If you want to kind of look good when you're off your bike, but still kind of support the brand, that is supporting the podcast. Jump over to trek.com.au and get some of their fresh kit because damn, it is good. Our next sponsor again on for this year is Franked. These guys make some of the best riding clothing. So when you're out of that Trek casual stuff, jump into your Franked jersey and ride the day away. Their AirTech technology is super, super comfortable, super breathable, and man, I'm absolutely loving it. As a guy that sweats more than an almond in the desert, then I can't thank Franked for making the best, coolest product out there. Jump over to franked.com.au, use the code BeyondTheTape10 and get yourself a bit of a discount. It's already great value, but why not make it a little bit cheaper so you can get the highest quality gear for an amazing price? Next up, Fist have joined in a big way for 2023, and I'm stoked because there is no other gloves I would wear. The nice synthetic Cordura palms are super grippy, keep your hands clean, keep the dust and mud off of them, and provide tons of grip. Absolutely frothing the Fist gloves. And man, their designs are so unique that you're not going to be mistaked for anyone else when someone's getting those photos. Jump over there, use the code BeyondTheTape for a bit of a discount there as well, which is sick. Lead Out Sports are always supporting the podcast for more made than one. And as per usual this year, if you ask a sick question during the tech talk, you're in the running for a $100 voucher. Once I can organize all three of us to get together, those tech talks will be coming back soon. In the meantime, though, if you want to check out the Burrito Toolkit, make sure you have the best tools to get you racing, get you going quick, and keep that bike running 100% for 2023. The Burrito Toolkit comes with everything you could possibly need. So if you're looking to get a solid kit that's going to last you a lifetime, hit up leadoutsports.com.au. Talking about riding, it's been a couple of months since I was last down in Tassie. It's already too long. I am going to hit up Tailored Trails to get me back down there, work out the best ride possible for me to explore every single park in Tassie, because damn, there are a few around. Absolutely love Maydena, but I want to go and explore Derby. I want to go and explore St. Helens. I want to go explore all of the places. And these guys know the best trails for the best weather conditions on the best days, and they'll get you riding them the best you possibly can with some of their coaching. So hit up Tailored Trails if you want to get the most out of Tassie riding. Now, when you're riding in Tassie, your bike's going to get muddy. Your bike's going to get dirty. It's going to get dusty. It's going to need some good cleaning. And that's where our new sponsor, Shred, come in. Shred have come onto the scene massively over the last couple of years. It is a COVID project that started around 2020. A man with a background in chemical engineering decided that he could do it better than the rest. A few mates got together, put some stuff in some bottles, sprayed it on a bike, and damn, it worked well. So now Shred is available to you for the best cleaning products on your bikes. Can't wait to get some in my hands. Tried some out over at Bullet on the weekend and absolutely loved it. So stoked to have Shred on board for 2023. And as per usual, an old timer, one of the original OG sponsors, Dirt Surfers, still on board for 23. Love their kit. I love their custom mud guards and I like the fist gloves. They just help you stand out. If you want your club to have some rad custom plates or some custom mud guards, keep it on board. And man, for 23, we've got capped out. I'm going to have some sweet stem caps coming for you soon. So hold on to that one. Anyway, this is a long intro because it's 2023 and I'm still dialing in these intros again because it's been a while. Annie Ford, you cannot find a more positive, more inspiring and more motivating person. She will get you riding further than ever. She'll get you stoked. She'll see you in the morning. You won't need a morning coffee if you catch up with her in the morning. She'll just get you really, really awake. We talk about her ride from the top of New Zealand down to the bottom, which she did with a surfboard strapped to her Enduro. We also talk about her silly Everesting she did after that, and we just go through a bunch of her stories and tales from the trip. So it's a really, really interesting one. So strap in and enjoy it. Now, for the first time in 2023, grab water, grab beer, grab wine, grab whatever makes you happy and enjoy this podcast.
2 things.
You'd think so.
Since, yeah.
Easy. You want to jump straight in then? Let's keep the chats going.
Yep. All right.
Sick.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, Annie Ford, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
G'day, Darren. It is an absolutely delight to be here. Pleasure to be here. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. Usually I'd ask and say, tell the people at home what you do and stuff, but man, your list is so long. It's out of control.
It got pretty wild there. So the last few months, I've spent every day on my bike, and starting with flying from Tasmania over here to the Long White Cloud here in New Zealand, and riding from the northern tip to the southern tip. And, that I'm pretty addicted at the moment. So I was wondering how I might be able to kick on. And Everesting popped up when I was out on the road, and was pretty keen to sink my teeth into something straight away because I was so fearful of ending. And it was a really nice way to test the fitness and whether that transferred to going uphill as well as along the flats. But turned out it did.
Well, when you spend that long on a bike, your base Ks and base fitness must have been so good.
So, it was always a bit of a dream of mine from beginning to ride 100 Ks. And I thought, well, one day in my life, I'll hit 3 digits, and it was on my list forever. I'd never got around to it, going downhill too much. Then the first day out on the road, I think I had a lot to prove to myself and had a lot of nervous energy that I just needed to get out. So as soon as I hit the ground on my bike up at Cape Reinga, up at the northern tip, had a really nice tailwind. So I thought I might as well utilise that as well.
Just capitalise on it as much as possible.
Exactly. I was like, don't need to tell everyone that, but I'll, punch it out. And I swear, most of it was just rolling, just got blown the whole way. It was pretty encouraging,
right. I never know anyone to start a bike packing trip with a nice tailwind. It's always headwind straight off.
I got told, hey, and I didn't realise how shithouse. Can I swear on this?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
How awful headwinds were until, you get a couple of days of them and you really figure out what you're made of there. Got to dig pretty deep at times. But, that was an epic day, actually, because I'd never bike packed before. I never had anything on my bike and never ridden a gravel bike, never ridden a road bike. Had only ever been on the road, literally a few kilometres before. And so why not just throw yourself in the deep end, steep learning curve. It wasn't I swear going from mountain biking to road biking is way prefer that transition because, it's pretty mild grades and nothing too techy. And so, yeah, it was nice. Really enjoyed it. And fortunately had the bike dialed in early. Like got some great advice from guys over here like Ben Hildred and had a chat to like Reece from Maydena and just lined it up really nicely. Had no modifications to the bike. Had it really dialed in from the get-go, which was fortunate, I feel. And the SRAM guys was just insane as well. They just did the full knockdown rebuild. Had a kit of everything. The poor bike, the first 100 Ks, you're on the beach and, oh, my God, out of the packet onto the beach, you should have seen the rust. It was disgusting. The poor bike was squealing for another week. So,
oh, God.
It was awful. Poor thing.
You haven't been riding bikes for a super long time, right?
No. Yeah. So Maydena got built in the backyard, which was a pretty big spotlight into the mountain biking scene in Tasmania. Derby had been around, but it was at the other end of the state, so that's pretty much a different country in Tassie. we don't get around much. And jumped on a bike at Maydena. The first time I rode was 5 years ago now, maybe, and just hung up the surfboard and jumped straight in. I was so addicted, and it's just the most insane feeling. And I still haven't found the limit of what you can do with the bike. I'm just learning more and more. 2 wheels are just the most incredibly accessible and challenging, and it's just got so many facets to it that I'm yet to really rinse out. So I'm enjoying the process of finding what I can do with a bike still. So 5 years ago, hadn't touched a mountain bike, and here we are, 2,000 k's deep now.
Just safe to say you can ride it pretty well now.
Oh, yeah, I think I've got a lot of I owe a lot to the bike. It's a very good bike. I can point it at anything and it's going to roll over it. It's just so capable. So I feel like I nailed it there too. Got a great bike, the Nomad.
It's not exactly everyone's first choice of bike for bike packing, though, is it? Let's be honest.
So this is where I'm really grateful that I haven't ridden a road bike or a gravel bike before.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm missing out on. And at the end of the day, when a big driver of the trip was having a positive environmental impact, or at least minimizing my environmental impact when it comes to travel. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways in which to do that is to use what you've got. And I took my insane bike, and rather than getting another specific bike for the trip, it also just opened up a whole bunch of opportunities. I could not just get from A to B, which was the purpose to come down and live here in Queenstown, to go riding. I could ride the whole way down and target hotspots for riding the whole way as well. And people ask me what the most valuable piece of equipment I had on the trip was, and it was the bike. I could take all the gear off it, and it was just an entirely different experience. Could experience the place that I was in off the highways, and just the depth of experience that enabled me was a game changer. Would never want to do it on a road bike or a gravel bike. I was just I can throw myself down anything. It was awesome to have that. And all I did was, pump up the tires, put on different tires as well, kind of XC style, and just lock everything out. Off we go.
Just lock everything. Yeah. So looking at photos, you're on the enduro bike, and then you had the trailer set up, but you're also carrying a surfboard with you as well, just to make life easy.
Yeah.
Talk us through your setup. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I could not hide with that setup. Hey, everywhere I went, it was like a magnet. You could if you wanted a quiet day, there wasn't a single one. The amount of conversations I'd have in a day and it was always the same set of questions, and the curiosity was epic. It looked ridiculous. Like I'm longer than a car out there, and it was good. I didn't fit the cyclist mold or the surfer mold, so everyone was really friendly to me on the roads. Every time I unhooked the trailer, you get like a little bit less, like people weren't as friendly.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so with the plan to ride my bike instead of flying from Auckland to Queenstown, I was like, far out. I'm really going to miss surfing if I'm on a bike for that long. I have no idea how long it's going to take me because I'm not fit and I've never ridden on the roads, and I have no idea whether I can even get it done. But the thought of like hanging up the surfboard for that long was not an enjoyable prospect. So I thought, well, might as well bring it with me, and hadn't seen it done before, so I started doing a bit of research and saw a couple of like designs that people had hooked up their boards like alongside their bike. But I was thinking on a highway that would be pretty horrifying. You know, you get a fair bit of side wind from trucks or just crosswinds, and that just blow you around the place. So thought behind the bike would be best and low. So, and hopefully just within my slipstream as well, so it didn't actually catch that much wind. And so I saw one guy over in America had a similar setup, and he just did like a 50K trip. So I was like, oh, might as well like, put that to the ultimate test and do a whole country. And yeah, just had it all sent over here to New Zealand. And fortunately, it worked. Like, hooked it up, got replaced the rear axle, and put it all together. God, that was horrifying the first few hours on the bike, just the different stability and learning how to put weight and where the balance point and the center of gravity was really essential. And far out under you on the bike was key. Yeah. Essentially, all that was in the trailer was a surfboard and my wetsuit and a little bit of extra food, but bulky things that you really can't afford to have on your bike at times. So a wetsuit being absolutely one of them. Every time it rained, that thing would like fill up with water.
Yeah,
I was
true.
Like 5 kilos heavier. It was disgusting. Or you'd like ride through a river and you're just like, oh no, I forgot about the wetsuit. You just plodding through the next 50 Ks of gravel, and you're just there, feeling pretty sorry for yourself at times.
So how did you mount the surfboard? Was it just like, was there a mounting system, or is Oki straps?
Yeah.
Or?
So again, just like learning, but usually by failing at things. And so got a few bungee straps. They lasted the whole trip. That was exactly what I needed. One at the front, one at the back. And then it would rattle on the metal frame of the trailer. So I just went to like the $2 store and got a like pool noodle and just cut it up. And so I had like those foam rings all around the edges. And by the end of the trip, they were like paper thin. So much compression, but it got rid of the rattle, and like happy days. Really basic setup. That trailer has been through hell and back. Like what I have dragged that over and through, and not a single puncture, not a single mechanical. Right. Like checked the bolts a few times, didn't come loose once. Like I am so impressed by that thing. Far out. Like game changer. You can go anywhere with them, I reckon. I tried, trust me.
I was a bit like, it wasn't all roads, right? Like you went proper off-road.
No. Yeah. Not at all, hey. So I really didn't know what I was getting myself in for. I was just like top to bottom, no route. I was going to be determined by the swell and by mountain bike spots. And a lot of that was going to be word of mouth. So there was a few hit lists. Like I really wanted to get to Raglan, really wanted to see Rotorua, really wanted to try Christchurch and Queenstown. And literally everything else was like, tell me where I should go locals. And that just was a big zigzag across the whole country, hey, like going from one to the other. And then you get a swell pop up. And so you're like 500 Ks in 5 days, like let's go, like get there. And there is a road cycle path or not a path, but like it gets you on and off back roads through the whole of New Zealand, called Tua Aotearoa. And so that was fantastic. Anytime I was on it, it was beautiful, super scenic, like beautiful roads, really nice areas, and pretty like quiet. But as soon as I wanted to surf or mountain bike, I'd be pretty much like Highway 1 or close to like 1, 2, 3 or 4. And yeah, Highway 1 is like an experience in itself. Every single time I got off Highway 1, I was like, I'm still alive. Like, thank God. Like, there was so many close calls, eh? Like, just it's just the sheer volume of traffic and big trucks. Like, I had a little rear view mirror.
Yep.
Easily the most valuable piece of equipment beyond the bike. Like, I would swap out my helmet for a rear view mirror any day of the week, because it prevented me getting in situations where I might get hit. Like, a helmet's not going to save you if you're hit by a car, unfortunately. So, but that I didn't even need to get close to the cars or the trucks. So, saw anything coming, I'd just pull out of the way. And so that made Highway 1 and all the highways, a really good experience. I got out of a lot of potential shitty situations by not even letting them happen.
Yeah.
Whereas, the back roads, I reckon maybe 30% of the roads that I rode were like 30 or 40 maybe were back roads, almost half.
Yeah.
And that was epic. Like, New Zealand, it's just everywhere you look is just insane. And
just views for days.
Yeah. A few friends were just like, don't you get sick of like green rolling hills? And I was like, nah, like it's still pretty good. I'm still into it. And then the further south I got, or even like with altitude on the North Island around Mount Ruapehu and like the volcanoes, and down here in the Alps, just gobsmacked. Like, the amount of times I've said wow to myself on this trip. And like, you can't bounce off anyone. You're just sitting in it by yourself. And you're like, where is everyone else? Like, what are you all doing? This is like the ultimate. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm the only person here to witness it. There was a few moments there I was just like, I need to like shake up some people and get them like freaking on for the ride, because it was exceptional. And whether it was highway or back road or very rare bike path, I couldn't have had a better country to traverse. It was insane. Just distracted the whole time, being blown out by what was around me, every direction.
Did that obviously, like when you're pulling out for like 100K days in a row and you're cooking for yourself, like you're setting up tents, like the whole physical, like just the exhaustion you'd be going through. Like obviously you're going to have mental struggles as well. Was like watching and seeing those views kind of pulling you through, or?
Oh, great question. So once you've got the structure of riding every day, and some days it was literally like I've redefined how I ride every day now, actually. As long as I get on the bike at whatever pace, you usually end up punching out 50Ks after a while, because you've got all day, you've got nothing else to do.
Right.
And, you rock up somewhere at midday and you're like, I could either sit around or I could ride more, and your fitness just through the trip far out. Like that 100K day at day one, like rolled me. Like I didn't want to get out of bed for like 12 hours. But towards the end of the trip, you can punch it out before breakfast and you still got heaps of energy. Like it's mad. And realizing like food and that, like, that's the core of it. If you fuel yourself when you're fit, you can just keep going until your body or something else gives. But yeah, the fitness ramped up, like ended up having a very strong base fitness throughout the trip. And what I thought was going to be really challenging, like, back-to-back 100K days, that it's just turning your legs over, like, and some rides are bigger than others. And I really appreciated how, whether it was scenery, whether it was music, whether it was some days you would want to work out, and some days you turned out and you wanted to work in a bit. Yeah. And the amount of introspection you'd go through out there just because you've got the space to. Like the first month I didn't listen to music at all. I was just had a bit of like a backlog of life that you hadn't processed yet. And by the end of the trip, like being hyper, like the clarity of life, and I've still got that now, is just phenomenal. And how protective I am of that energy now. Like I'm super intentional about who I'm around and what I'm around and what comes out of my mouth and what I let into my space, because it's a very positive, productive, inspired space to operate from. And I can absolutely narrow that down to pedaling and being out there on my bike. And, you know, some days were you'd only want to go 30 Ks and you'd just chill out, or, you know, you'd spend the whole day at the beach surfing or riding, like heaps of days on the bike. Even when rest days, there was no day I went without riding, because it's part of my body now. Like it's like a limb. And I just spent Christmas away from my bike for 2 days. It was like the worst. It was really hard not to have this, like, it's my security, it's my safety, it's my like outlet, it's what I've done to process and think and enjoy and challenge myself for so many months now. Like at the end of the day, of especially the big days, setting the tent up and stuff became so automated.
True.
And it literally took no time. And like, as a saddlebag boy, like, that's my house. It's so easy. And you just like unfold it, like chuck a few little bars in and jump in your sleeping bag. And I could put my head on anything and fall asleep at the moment, because you're using your body all day, every day, and you've already processed everything in your mind. So it's not like you're going to sleep with a thousand things going through your mind. It was really, I've never slept better. I've never had a better routine. But also like just fueled off date scones. Every cafe. And New Zealand's great. Like every 20K, they've got like another cafe. So I got pretty sick of dehydrated meals. Even though they were great, they were just like different variations of the same thing. And I would pedal 100 Ks to a cafe before I had to have another one. I'd be like, nah, they're great. They made me feel good, but there's nothing that competes with like a cuppa and some good cafe food when you've had monotonous eating for a few months on end. So
I was actually going to ask what you fueled with, like, because I know a few crew that have done some big rides and they often just Coca-Cola and Sour Patch Kids. Like that's all they run off, and just brutal.
I really care about nutrition and looking after my body. So I'm pretty aware of this stuff, especially now that like I knew exactly how I'd react to whatever I ate out there. And like chocolate milk is like elixir. Hey, that will get you anywhere doing anything you need to do. Like it is just phenomenal. Like up the Everest, that was, oh my God, I've never had anything better. But usually towards the end, though, don't start out with
definitely
that.
Not start.
Just when you need like that last lap. On the big trip, it was very much like I had a lot of radix and they were freaking awesome. I bag it now, but no matter what dehydrated meals I was having, I was going to have a taster version by the end of it. And I can't look at dehydrated meals again for like at least a year. I reckon like I need a solid drought, but like that had everything I possibly needed. And because I'm like veggie, it was easy to just have like 5 or 8 different options at any one time. And I'd send forward like bits and pieces that I needed or get it prepped. And as the trip grew in awareness, I guess, people started to be able to like prep down the line as well. So food was one of those things. So I didn't have to carry like 10 kilos of food the whole way.
Yeah, sick.
But heaps of radix, and then like cafes were my best friend. And I've got like a hit list. Hey, if you ever need to travel through New Zealand, let me look after you.
What was your like? Did you have any planning or preparation going into it, or you just like, I'm gonna get there?
I think there's always an element of mental preparation, and so there certainly was that. I was very super keen and super excited when I jumped in, and hence like straight off the bat wanting to do big days because I had the energy to. I had the stoke to throw myself out there. And I guess there's a lot to be said for preparing yourself before you even get to the start line with regards to, like, I've spent a bit of time alone, and I'm not afraid to, go on a few days hiking alone, or I already had a few like safety constructs to make sure that someone always knew where I was, or I'm not fearful of stepping out in that way. In terms of bike prep, I learned so much out there. I had never changed my own tire, which is ridiculous. I know it's really humiliating now, but because I usually rode Maydena, or like mostly Maydena actually, if you ever got a flat, you just roll down the hill and it was all good. Like, or roll out to the shuttle road and happy days. So there was just no need to learn. Should have probably watched a YouTube clip before, like I was in the middle of nowhere with no reception and a flat and far out. Like I had to change the same tire like 7 times before I got it right because I kept giving myself punctures, putting it back on. Like, it was so gnarly because I ran tubes.
Oh God!
Wouldn't again. I'd go tubeless next time, but hey, live and learn. But far out, like that was a learning curve and very character building. There's not much that can challenge you, like, end of a big long day, really like tired, cold, and you're trying to figure out how to change tire. But now all good, like 10 minutes done. Happy days.
Do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. In any conditions, like I gave one of the guys here a race the other day. He still like slaughtered me, but I wasn't useless. I was pretty fast, I feel.
You mentioned like you kind of have traveled and you know how to have your kind of dot watcher and have people tracking you or letting people know where you are as well. But being a solo traveler in a country you probably don't know as well, and then being female and then camping on the side of the road and stuff, like were there any risks or anything you were kind of scared of, and how'd you kind of get around those, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, no. I understand the question, and it's a really common one. I would not hesitate to advise single women to do what I've done. I would not hesitate. There's obviously care that needs to be taken with like anything, just using your intuition. And if you feel that something's up or less than safe, you can just keep pedaling. But I always had the life tracker, and so family and friends always knew where I was. I'd always give them the heads up if I was going out of reception and when to expect me back. But it was a concern I had going into it too. And I had a couple of chats to solo females, and they were just like, it can happen anywhere, and no matter who you are, and no matter whether you're a guy, a girl, like there's obviously risks, and if you can manage them to the best of your ability, and just also like I'm a very trusting, optimistic person, and I feel that the world is very much that too. That's probably a bit naive to an extent, but I'm also always have my bullshit detector on and always have my intuition. And there was a couple of example like situations where I kept pedaling because like whether it was calls across the street or, in one town, like I arrived really early and there was a lot still going on from the night before, and someone was on a bike just following me around a bit, and I was just like, I'll just go to a gym, and just hung out at a gym until daylight, and then it was all good again. But New Zealand is like the mecca for this stuff. It is so insanely accommodating and safe. And I had the opposite end of the spectrum where people would go so far out of their way to make sure that I was safe and that I was happy and that I was cared for. And like towards the end of the trip, far out, like Wellington, I had like well over like 20 or 30 offers of help, like whether it was a tour guide, whether it was like mechanics, whether it was backyards, spare couches, like a car, everything you could possibly want. Towards the end, getting down to like Invercargill and Queenstown, like over 100. Every single place I went was like flooded with offers of help and kindness and generosity, and people just wanting to show you their location and their like show off their town. It was just the most remarkably humbling, warm community. It's like the mountain bike community are freaking epic. I have the utmost faith in humanity. This trip has, without a doubt, blown me away with what people will do to help each other. And I just want everyone to have that, to walk away with the same that same outlook, because it's exceptional out here, and especially the mountain bike community. They were just, I have no words. Amazing crew.
Yeah, that's insane. What that kind of brings me to another thing. Like, what was your like amenities like? How are you finding showers? How are you obviously just doing your daily business? Got to be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And in New Zealand, there's an element of that they are sensitive to freedom camping, because it's been so abused by a lot of the tourists that have come through. And so with the distance between towns, it made it really easy for a bike rider. I never struggled, actually. So I'd always be planning ahead with regards to like food access or just toilets. And then I learned about warm showers out there as well. Have you ever heard of warm showers?
I've had one or two. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
That was my answer when I got asked about it, like up near Rotorua. But essentially, warm showers is like a community for the bike packing crew of the world. And essentially, you offer up your house if you've got one, and essentially you enable other bike riders to come in and use the shower. And it's essentially like couch surfing for bike packers. And whether it's space in the backyard to set up a tent, whether it's a spare bed or tools, as long as there's a warm shower associated with it, there's like a whole community there that if I needed a shower, I'd jump on the app and plan ahead a day or two or three, and you'd always have a bathroom available to you. And usually like the people that offer up their facilities or houses or beds, whatever it is, they're all bike packers. So they've all got insane knowledge about what the surrounds and which route to take. And like, have you thought of this? That's where I got my rear view mirror from. Like someone just gifted it to me from the warm showers community. They're like, I will not let you go any further without this. Like, you need it. And if it sits on your trailer for the rest of the trip, it was easily a lifesaver. And, I got taught how to change a tyre really well from another guy that I stayed with in the warm showers crew. So utterly awesome app that I highly recommend if you're on a bike riding from A to B and you need a warm shower. Yeah. It was awesome. And you return the favour when you have the facilities to give back to the community.
That's so sick. That's so good to hear and see.
Yeah, just free, help yourself, happy days. I'd always bring like a bottle of wine or like something to just share. And always the stories, the characters that you meet out there were just epic. And it's all reviewed based, so you can tell if you might want to not stay with anyone in particular.
Just the first photo of the accommodation is a warehouse, and it's like a real sketchy.
Exactly.
That's so good. And like you're obviously just then meeting people and staying with these people and you're making friends like the whole way down as well. Like that is so sick to hear. Like,
oh my gosh, absolutely. Like I went out on this trip alone and I was almost never alone. And that was the best part. Like the whole time, whether it was cafes, whether it was destinations like Roto or Rag, like it was the people that made the place and the enrichment that they brought to the experience and the local knowledge or, you know, knowing the swell direction, swell height, like where to go, where the rips were, all that kind of stuff. I feel very naive having gone into it being like, yeah, individual journey, rah, rah, and walking away being like, well, people and the power of community that's where the good stuff's at. That's where the important fulfillment and connection is. And that's what I will take forward going into the next adventure is just, you know, how I can, whether it's giving back in that form or whether it's like tapping into that to a different degree or a different facet. I learned a lot out there with regards to the people make it.
Yeah. What were your final kind of figures like at the end of the ride? Can't remember off the top of my head.
I struggle with numbers too, hey. Well, those kind of numbers. It was over 3,500 kilometres in distance and over 30,000 elevation. And because the whole driver behind it was essentially reducing the carbon footprint of travel, to unpack the bike and to ride like the length of the country instead of fly it, there was almost 500 kilograms of carbon offset by the choice as well. And then like, you know, I think there was like 5 flat tires. I don't know how many ASX recharges. Not that many. I was so surprised. I got away with weeks before I had to like recharge that.
I was going to ask that.
It was so good and like never having to like lose tension in the cable, so never had to like tune it up. It was just dreamy. Very, very spoiled. But yeah, and then I think not many other figures that come to mind.
Yeah.
A lot, like infinity left-hand waves. Hey, there's so many left-handers on this bloody country. I couldn't find a right if I was like anywhere. I pedaled 500 Ks to find a right, and I was just like, the left is still better. I'm still going out that left. Like, they're just everywhere. So finally learned how to go left better. Wouldn't say I got it dialed in, but yeah, I can go left now.
You're an amputee.
Getting there.
You mentioned right at the start that you had a fear of finishing. What did you kind of mean by that, and what was it like on that last day pedaling to the south?
Oh, that takes me back. If that road kept going to Antarctica, I would have kept riding, hey, the whole way. I wouldn't have stopped. I was in the most remarkable space. It is incredible out there. And when your routine is literally like newness and amazing people everywhere you go, and you're using your body and you're just absolutely breaking down walls in your mind with what you can do mentally out there and emotionally, and just learning that much about yourself. And you're just pumped up on endorphins the whole day. Like, why would you want to end that? Like, what for? And the thing is, like, the bike became like a tool for all these other experiences. And so there was no monotony in it. There was always so much to learn out there. And because I didn't plan, I literally didn't know what was around the next corner and what that would look like, or what, like, I didn't know whether my bike or I could even do this trip. So the bite size lack of pressure on myself, like I didn't have a certain Ks I wanted to do it a day, or there was one day where I was like, I wonder how far I can ride, and why not go do that? And so did that. And just constantly learning it. I didn't want it to finish, and realizing towards the end of the trip as well, when I started to catch up with people that are in structure, like in a 9-to-5 job and have predictability and they complain about weather and bits and pieces. Like, I realized how far removed I was from day-to-day crew, and what this trip had given me in terms of perspective. And I really had to bring a lot of compassion to those new conversations, and listening to gossip in cafes, and listening to like people complaining about the weather, or how the trails could be better or drier or wetter. Realizing, no, Annie, not everyone has just cycled the length of New Zealand and spent as much time with themselves and has worked on themselves. And it's okay. And there's going to be a period of transition here, and to bring like kindness to myself there, because, I found it pretty intolerable at times. It was definitely difficult to be around for a little bit. I literally just walk out of conversations. So that stopped at least. I can bring a bit more compassion to that in myself and the situation. But it was utterly addictive. And even now I notice when I haven't ridden my bike for a day, like I thought I'd be sick of my bike. Hey, I thought I'd never want to look at it again at the end of this trip after spending that much time on it. And it's never been, but more the opposite end of the spectrum. I can't even imagine traveling without it now, because it's so immersive, and you really truly experience a place. Like, you smell it, you hear it, you feel it, especially like, you're in it here. And that's so special. And we're so privileged to have that option to put ourselves in that situation. And I will continue to. So yeah, the thought of finishing and to go to routine and predictability and a lack of challenging myself by default, like every single day there was a new challenge, something I didn't know would pop up. To remove myself out of that situation was scary. Like, change is scary. And fortunately for me, I had Queenstown on the cards. So I know, like, and having passed through Queenstown on the way south, I was like, this is it right now. Like, this is what I'm gravitating towards, is the energy of this place. It's such an epic base for so many adventures. The people here are total go-getters. Like, you go jump off a massive like bridge and people are like, why didn't you backflip it? I was like, oh, wow, that's sick. Like, what a great comment. Yeah, why didn't I? Like, what's the next level? And people are pushing themselves here, and it's constantly challenging. Like, there's always something epic to say yes to, and you don't always have to bring the ideas yourself. You can jump on other people's ideas too. And I'm in a phase of my life where I'm just so hooked on that component of like, challenge yourself intrinsically, extrinsically, and this is definitely feeling like home at the moment. So I'll keep hanging out here for as long as that feels right. Which right now I feel like I'm on the money after having the experiences, so many places and people and environments. This is epic.
It's definitely a thing. Like, you come back from an experience like that, especially if you're even like a small event or something, when you come back to a bunch of crew that haven't been and they're not on the same high as you are. It's so hard to be around people at that time.
I totally agree. And, I really cherished that, because that's why we do this. It's why we put ourselves in these challenging, different environments. And like, I really appreciate people that also, whatever their challenge is, whether it's like pedaling one lap, whether it's going down a new trail, like, to put themselves into an environment of growth rather than comfort. Like, that's where you learn. That's where, like, that's what being human is. It's like one big massive experiment. And I've just had the privilege of doing that day in, day out for a really long time now. And to think who I was and what I was scared of 4 months ago, 6 months ago, before this trip even crossed my mind, like, you would never, ever catch me pedaling uphill, ever. Like, I was just like, why? Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. Like, when you can go down, it's way funner.
Gravity's there for a reason. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like shuttle buses, eh? So that this trip has just been a mind blower in terms of like bite-sized achievements and how that can totally transform who you are and what you appreciate and your goals and who you feel that you are and what you're capable of. Like, right now, oh God, like, if you heard my inner talk, it'd be like, there's not much I don't feel like I can put my mind to and do right now. It's very, very positive and it's strong. Like, and especially coming off the back of a lot of pedaling recently and trying to find that limit, and you realize like that limit just keeps moving. And that's part of the fun, is like chasing that, but also having the awareness to know when to just be and to just chill out and appreciate all the achievement and what your body's given you and what your mind's like worked through, and just like stoke out on that for a bit and sit in that, because that's if you're not in this, then you're either too forward or too far back.
Exactly.
And you miss the moment. So there's been a lot of that when I've got the space and time to, which this is just a nice pause button for a bit, just to be here and look back at what has been utterly life-changing.
So what was the reasoning behind doing all this at the core? We haven't talked about that yet. You mentioned it a little bit, but what was your kind of core reasoning and where's that reasoning come from?
Great question. And it's multifaceted, the answer. My work as a marine biologist and a volunteer in forests, that like working to save old growth forests, has always really propelled me to make change in those spaces, because I've seen solid changes just in my lifetime in what I'd go out and hunt when I was, diving, or watching, these 500 to 1,000-year-old trees get logged in front of my eyes. Like, that's pretty motivating, moving stuff. So I was quite nihilistic for quite a while, thinking the world's fucked. You might as well have a great time while you're here. I literally remember thinking that about 10 years ago, and then came to the realization that, if you throw in the towel, like, people could have done that at any stage in history, but we're constantly adapting, and we're also like, humans can be quite destructive, but they can also, rallying together, can be phenomenally solutions oriented. And the community, I've just experienced this firsthand. When we pull together and team together, there is literally nothing we can't do. And so I went through a phase of looking at, like, a hard look at myself and what made me happy, and, getting told that, generally, like, when you've got the house and kids and car and financial stability, you'll be happy. And like, I had a lot of those things. I had the house, I had the car, I had the partner, I had the dog. All that, like, certain elements absolutely made me happy, but like, the money didn't, and the materialistic house didn't, and like, the social status didn't. When you start to be looked upon by your peers favorably, like, it still wasn't very fulfilling. But when I started working on a cause beyond myself, I became really, really happy and ultra fulfilled. Like, so warmed. It's not like I walk around beaming all day. It's something a bit more intrinsic than that. And I feel it's right. And part of that is my actions aligning with what I believe, and they're not always the easiest actions. But one that's really obvious is travel, and I am not advocating for people to follow in my footsteps and to make, to spend 3 months riding a bike rather than flying 2 hours. It's whatever your capacity is and your passion is, like, to bring passion into it. Like, I just had the best time of my life having a positive impact on the planet. Like, that just didn't equate to me out there. I was like, shouldn't this be hard work? And shouldn't this be like really fucking difficult to be compromising like this? But it wasn't. Like, fortunately for me, I just pulled some things that I really enjoyed doing together and rode my bike instead of flying. And like, to think about like what 2 hours on a plane equated to on the ground was like moving mountains in myself. Like, the lifelong connections that I'm taking away from this, like, who I am has completely shifted, and what I know I can do. Like, it's literally like I've just pivoted and projected into this like incredible space that I'm not finished exploring or like wading through, because it's just epic. So it was fueled initially by wanting to have a positive environmental impact, and then the rest of it fell together. Like, I've always wanted to spend time on my bike. Like, I love riding, and I've always wanted to go to all these places. So rather than fly over the top of them all, why don't I go visit them along the way? So the enduro bike made a lot of sense. And like, why not go and pull myself into completely different environments and do what I love at the water? And if I can learn about like local issues along the way, then that's even better. And as soon as I started to think beyond myself, I was like, oh, maybe I can fund the things that I do and support in the volunteer space. And because I am part of the surf rider community in Australia, and it's an international organisation committed to like improving and bringing community onto ocean-oriented impacts, whether that's like oil and gas development, whether that's seawalls, whether that's like aquaculture industries that are unsustainably utilising resources, or in the forestry space where, we're still logging old growth forests in Tasmania. Like, this stuff's nuts. And having been on the ground, worked on those individually, I know that they're credible. I know that like the people that represent and their core beliefs, like, they rinse themselves and their money, every dollar, every second of their energy is spent doing this work. Like, they are the most inspiring people I've ever met. And so if I could help like bring that up a layer and scale it, I could not only have an adventure of a lifetime, but I know I could do something that makes me truly, deeply happy. And I just rolled it all together and had the trip of a lifetime while doing something bigger than myself, which is just doesn't seem real. I look at it like that. It's like pretty freaking cool to have brought the climate action charge to it as well. Like, it just really raised the vibration of it, and also the awareness of it. Like, that resonates with a lot more people than just a bike ride. Like, we're all getting impacted. Like, we all win if there's more trees in the ground and less fossil fuels out of it. It makes a lot of sense to raise awareness on that if I can, with the knowledge I have. Unfortunately, with my degree and with my work, I've learned a lot and know how to communicate the science. So that's been an awesome opportunity to use the platform that this trip has given me to just dial it right up.
Yeah. So sick. So good to hear.
Thank you.
I think the biggest highlight of the trip for me and watching on your Instagram was seeing Dan Booker jump out of the bushes at the end. How mind-blowing.
Complete highlight, hey. Like, I'll never forget that ever. And that poor guy, like, on the last day, when I knew I was going to be like a mess. Like it was the end, and I could see the end of the country in sight. And the overwhelm, and I like honestly get emotional thinking about this. Think about point A to point B, and that was point B. To reflect on, God, like there were so many times where I couldn't even pedal my bike because I was crying from happiness out there. Like, or the sunrise or the sunset, or, you know, that day I rode as long as I could and just totally overwhelmed by what my body could do. And money was pouring in at that stage as well. I was just like, this is mad. Like, and then to have like one of my favorite people on the planet come and see it out with me. Like I hadn't seen Booker in, I might have been like 9 months. Like he'd been over doing the rounds, the EWS rounds and worlds. I was just like, we'd kept in touch, and, you know, you always send each other like, you know, little bits and pieces here and there, like, oh, I read this today, like hopefully it applies to wherever you're at. And but to see that out with someone that has been there through so much and has been part of like my riding adventure, like I've definitely got into bikes because of the community in there, and he's a big part of that for me. And he's so much more than just a bike rider, you know, like he was there because he understood the importance of that day to me, and like the life highlight that was for me, and to be able to share that and capture that as well. And just he flies in tomorrow to Queenstown, and I'm just like, I'm going to spear tackle that guy. Hey, I've missed him. Like, it's only been a few weeks, but utter highlight. I just screamed and cried even more. Poor guy, I couldn't speak that day. But it was magic. Absolute highlight.
He's such a G. I love that dude.
Such a G, such a great role model in that space. I'm so glad he's like, he just turns out to be an epic bike rider, so the whole world gets to see it too.
Yeah, I know. So you did this massive mammoth ride. You've had some of the best experiences ever, and it finished up with Dan Booker. It's amazing. You're crying. At what point do you go, I'm going to go climb 1,300 meters, 10,300 meters, do 226 Ks in 23 hours? Like, when do you think about going to do that?
Okay, so that seed of Everesting was planted in Wellington in an off-handed comment that a friend called Jake Hood, who was doing some photography with me, said about a girl over here, total legend, called Emma Bader. And she's like this quiet go-getter that just like punches out solid days, solid climbs. And, you know, she just did an Everest one day. And I was just like, that's mad. Totally never considered doing anything like that. Had never heard of it. I heard a few guys here were doing some big climbs, like Ben. And so I always found that inspiring, but could never resonate. Like, just never had the physical fitness or the body, or at least I told myself that, and I believed it. And your body does too, if you're telling yourself that. And soon realized, like, after I did the big day on my bike and got to 300 Ks, I was like, oh, that totally redefined what I thought I could do with my body, and how much stronger your mind needs to be, like, or not needs to be, but is. And so if you've got a strong mind, which, you know, I feel like I'm pretty readily into doing that work and looking at things, like, if you've got the foundation, it just comes down to your mindset and being able to push through hard stuff. And so the Everest started to like formulate towards the end, where like the fear of finishing and the emptiness that might ensue after that. Like, it was freaking scary finishing, because I was like, what's next? And I get that there's like probably an element of like addiction here and escapism or something going on there. But I desperately wanted to sink my teeth into something to buffer the fear of finishing and what next. And so I thought about Everesting the access road here at Queenstown. And when I was in Queenstown, I was like, oh, I'll do some like scouting out. And so I went and did an access road, and I didn't have the upper body strength to do it. Like, you need to pull yourself into the bike when you're climbing that kind of grade. And I have it all down low. Like, my legs like have broken my pants like multiple times. Every single seam on my pants has been restitched because my legs got that big out there. Yeah. But on top, like, I like crumple into my bike when I go downhill now. I'm just like, where did it all go? I'm like this triangle. And so I was like, okay, access road might be out of the question for now, but what's an easier transition for my type of fitness was Coronet, which is like a nice like 10% grade, just sealed road, and I'll just like go ride that. So I went and rode that, and I was like, this is the one for sure. One, it's ultra beautiful, and then two, like, there's an epic little trail you can ride down Rude Rock to see out the full loop. And as soon as that thought popped up in my mind, I was like, cool, it's happening. It's absolutely happening. And like, there was no doubt about it before I even begun to prepare. And that's where the mental strength of like doing this kind of stuff daily for such a long time, the doubt that comes when you look at like a big range that you're about to come out, and then the elation that you feel when you're at the top, you're just like, you're constantly overcoming limiting beliefs. And what was, I kind of wanted to really smash out the limiting belief by like not just doing the Everest, but like showing myself that I was beyond capable and doing 10 instead. And I didn't tell anyone that, but it was in the back of my mind. I started towards leading up to the actual day. I started, okay, I need to start talking about this, because the power of what you say is intense. And I wanted to like actually start to fucking make it a real thing, and put the expectation not just in my mind, but in the couple of people that were close to me. And I cared about their opinion. Like, unfortunately, as much as I wish I didn't care about others, we do. And so there was an element of being held accountable to a couple of people here too. But that challenge, I wanted to be intrinsically motivated. I didn't want anyone to know I was even doing it. Just because coming off the north to south, it was so much bigger than me, and it was a fundraiser, and like there was an element of like wanting to make sure that the sponsors had a platform and were acknowledged, and that I was grateful. But so when things got hard, I could defer to that. And I could like look at my phone, and people were like, oh, you're going up a hill now on the live track. I hope you're going well. Like, keep going. And it was like I fed off the intrinsic components. But at the end of the day, this one, I wanted to see whether I had it in me and me alone. And I didn't ask a single person to come up there, which is ridiculous given how many people showed up. And like, word spreads here. And far out, one of the biggest learnings from Everesting was like how cool riding with other people are, like wanting to do this intrinsic solo little challenge, and how valuable the people were to that. And they knew what I was about to go through. I wasn't. Like, they've seen Everest, they've seen people like push it to the absolute limit. I've never witnessed that. I've never seen anyone climb for a few hours, let alone 32 hours. So I'm glad they were there and knew what I was about to bury myself, So showed up, and it was really hard resting the few days before. I fully gave myself like 4 days rest, like solid rest, just spin my legs like to and from Queenstown kind of thing. That was hard to not ride a big chunk of every day, but far out. Like rest is a superpower. I could not believe it. And especially at the learning from the north to south, like as long as you tick along, it's okay. You're going in the right direction. Like it's where, for me, I'm not an intense peddler. I'm just like, this slow grind is like my bread and butter. I can do it all day long, like just low intensity, but can just keep going, and I'm cool with it. Like it's freaking awesome. I love it. And that's why everyone smashed PBs of their own, because they were just like, this is really easy. It's just time on the bike. That's the only. And so, yeah, just like started at midnight and did a few days practice beforehand, like just to make sure like that I have converted my fitness into uphill, not just like flat and undulating north to south. Felt pretty confident. Like by the time I was at the start line, I had no doubt. And this is probably not advisable, but like I was and still am in this mindset of like, either you see this out or you break your body, and there's no quitting. There's no option of like that's not on the table. And with that certainty, like fully accepting that, far out, like just like, let's go. Now it's just admin. Like I already know I've got it. It's just now I just need to prove it and do the time on the bike, like just sit on my bike for however long it takes to do it. And like the first few laps are just so chill, like because I had so much rest and was so well fed, and I knew exactly what I needed to eat by that stage. Like I just lived off peanut butter jam sandwiches all day long. Like it's all you need, like carbs, sugar, fats. Hey, happy day. And like those little gels every half hour, just like constantly eating. Because as soon as you're like thirsty or as soon as you're hungry, you're done. Like that's it. And so, the first like 5-6 laps, so they were just like super chill, like so didn't get fatigued. By lap 8, I was like, okay, now I'm starting to feel it in my legs. I'm starting to feel like a little bit of, I'm getting tired. And so throughout the day, there was like new people constantly coming in. Like they'd come for a couple of laps or 3 or 4. Some came for like more than half. That was amazing. And I just harvest their energy. Like, oh, new people, like awesome. Like welcome, and let me like soak up your energy because I'm going to utilize it. And you just watch these people be super talkative, be super fun, like doing wheelies and like jumping off shit. And by like lap 2 or 3, they just fall off a cliff. And then like a new set would come in and it'd be like, you'd watch these people go through it throughout the day. And gosh, towards the end there, I remember at the start of lap 10, so there were 13.5 laps. And the start of lap 10, I was like, I can't believe I said this. I was like, I don't get it. It's not that hard. This isn't that hard. and then I got
famous last words
smacked down by like, oh my God. The heavens just opened up and we got like drenched. And I think it was like 1 a.m. at this stage of the next day, like 25 hours in. And we got soaked to the bone, which is fine on the climb. And we got to the top and it was getting really, really cold, and we shouldn't have stopped. We should have like got straight down, but we didn't. And there was like rivers around us, and Rude Rock was like literally an icy river. And I just had like the clothes I'd worn all day. I had like a cotton t-shirt on, just thought I was prepared, but like under my wet weathers, like it was just like in and everything. When you ride through rainy like trails, you know, it just like penetrates. And all I can remember on the descent of that one was like my friend Vaughn behind me just saying, like, just encouraging me through. And my body was starting to seize up. Like anytime I went from like downhill stance to pedaling up little sections, like so much pain in my knees. and like got down to midway where we had the base station. And like people were saying words and I just could not make sense of what they were saying. Like it was just noises coming out of their mouth. And but people were driving off in different directions. Like Lou Ferguson just like cleaned out like 2 cupboards worth of warm gear and just brought it back up for everyone to check it out. I remember like Brooke doing up my zipper. I remember like Vaughn taking off my socks. Like I was just in a state, hey. And these like the troops just rallied, like everyone pulled together and kept me warm. And before I even started, I was chatting to my friend Vaughn about this, and he was like, how much do you want me to push you? And I was like, all the way. Like, if you have any doubt, like, I'm going all the way, and I'll never forgive you if you say anything less. And so I remember him just getting my head after he put my beanie on and put my helmet over my beanie. He's like, fuck, you look like my mum. Like you look like such a dork right now. But they'd changed me out, and that he was like, we're getting you to the bottom. We're going to start pedaling again and you'll be okay. And all I needed was instruction, because I couldn't think for myself in that state. I was so fucking cold, so fatigued, and rolled down the hill. I was just like in this massive tarpaulin from like Lou. Turned around at the base, started pedaling again, pedaled the whole way up in this enormous coat, like, it was tight and constrictive and uncomfortable, but who cares? I was getting warm. And could start to think again. Everyone else, like, I was like, fuck, I'm putting all these people through this. Like, this is so selfish. Like, you guys can stop if you need. Hey, like, it's okay. They're like, we're good, we're warm. It's not us, we're okay. And reaffirmed that we're in it together. And that because I couldn't eat when I was hypothermic on the, like, not hyper, but I was cold. Didn't eat on that cold lap. The next lap I paid for it. Hey, like, I was just so tired, so fatigued, and like crumpling into my bike at one stage. I was just like, where is my energy? Like, where's it gone? And the attitude that comes with that, like the mental talk in that space was intense. Like, it's the first time in months that I had said in my head, this is hard. And I didn't verbalize it, but it was enough to give it power, even in the thought of it. And as soon as I said it in my head, it got so much harder. Like, it got so much harder. I was just like, oh my God. The importance of how you talk to yourself was highlighted, and I'll never, like, that was the hugest learning in that space was as soon as I verbalized the pain that I was feeling, that rolled me. Luckily, I said that right before we got to the mid station again, and that's where the chalky milk came in, eh? Like
that miraculous chalky milk.
Yeah. And I was like, it's okay. I've only got like a couple laps to go. I can eat like shit now and it won't matter. Like, I can overeat and I know I can see it out. It's okay. And so that's exactly what I did. And as soon as I ate, last few laps were fine, like totally fine, because I was warm and I was fed again. But I love that I got knocked around that much, because I just learned so much in it. And not only that, the crew that were with me that got to witness that, it just hearing what that did for them was that's bigger than me, like so much bigger than me. And watching other people change their plans and dreams coming out of like a challenge like that is just ultra inspiring. And I'm so happy to be a part of that and to witness them challenging themselves. And the comment that I got like time and time again up there, like, oh, my PB is nothing in comparison to what you're doing. I was like, it is everything. It's everything. Whatever is a challenge to you, like, it's all relative. I've been on my bike for months now. Like, it's all relative. It's just a conversion of what I was doing into like an uphill challenge instead. But for you guys to come off the Skyline gondola to like punch out like 8 or 9 laps up there, that's superhuman to me. Like, I don't know how you did that. Like, that's amazing. And what a day. Like, what a day. Like, to think that you're capable of experiencing all those emotions and that community, and seeing when the going gets really tough, how good people are, like through and through. Like, their true colours are just golden in that crew. Like, I'm so humbled and so privileged to be surrounded by these people. And I would not have been able to do it without them. I wouldn't. Yeah. No way. Like they helped that we did it. I didn't do it. Like, for sure.
100%. I know everyone I know that's done Everesting is like, if I didn't have a Sherpa or anyone like there, it would have been done. Like,
definitely. Yeah. For
not
me,
even quarter. Yeah.
Utterly true.
So what's next?
Oh, good question. So there's so much on the back, like going on up here. Hey.
Yeah.
So after I did the Everest, I was like laying in bed. I was on the phone to Booker actually. I was like, mate, I'm going to do 4 Everests in a month. I'm going to do one next week and then the week after and then the week after. He's like, Annie, just pause. Like the profundity of this stuff will be weakened if you like burn the candle that much. Just like your body's designed to need to rest occasionally too. To like go ahead, do that, but maybe not right now. Like just be here. And so I'm kind of glad I had that advice. I needed that advice because I was pretty full tilt into what's next. But that's more pedal challenges are definitely on my radar because I love it. I really enjoy how much I learn and what I'm capable of. It just the pin keeps moving. It's epic. And also with the riding side of things, I'm pretty intrigued to ride from like Mexico to Whistler. And so then I'd have the whole like surfing component, especially down south in Cali and Mexico, and then just ride the West Coast through Oregon would be amazing. And then to wrap it up in West would just, and I've never been to America or Canada. I feel like that would be dialing that up a whole nother level and just with the same setup, you know, get my board and get my bike and just like have a epic summer over there and time it for like opening or something. So I'm not pedaling in ridiculous heat throughout. But they've got bears as well. So who knows? Like I'm so like unaware of the dangers over there in comparison to here. Like New Zealand's like a playground in comparison to cougars and stuff. So I need to do more research.
I've said it 1,000 times. I'd much rather have a snake on a trail than a bear. Because I can 100%. Bunny hop a snake like, any day of the week. Snakes
are scared of you. They'll like people are like, but you live in Tassie. Tassie's gnarly. I'm like, no, it's not. It's so chill. Like things don't hunt you. Like
you're fine.
Totally agree.
And I can't say there's a big like cartel scene in Tassie
that
either.
One too. Hey, yeah. I have been thinking about the whole solo female trip side of things because I've really enjoyed that. I think like being a solo traveler. You were so approachable. Like the amount of people in cafes that were just like, do you have anywhere to stay tonight? Do you want to like, I've got a house like down this way. It's empty. Just like help yourself. The keys underneath the doormat. Like so many offers like that because you're alone, I think has really helped that component and you really immerse yourself in the community that way too. Really enjoyed traveling solo, but who knows, like, other friends have really been like, next one, I'm there as well. So that might be really a great way to do it as well. I don't know. I've never done it. So open to the
just see what happens.
Exactly. Let the chips fall.
We've got the summer shred coming up in
down
your way.
A very big summer planned, hey, like, and just stoked to transition, like just to get back on like mini dream the last few days and go downhill. Like my hands are just in so much pain.
Your arms actually have to work now. It's a whole different thing.
Like you should see, like my shoulders are getting so tight, so sore. It's good though. Like just slowly work my way over, and it's great. Like I can ride out of so many gnarly situations now because the balance is just there now. Whereas you know, the bike awareness is on point. Just things that you don't plan for, but are great to have when you're in spicy situations.
100%. Easy. We might start wrapping things up a little bit then. Kind of got 3 questions I like to ask people.
Sure. Give me.
First one, what advice would you have to anyone that wants to go out and do what you've done? Like,
Ooh. Honestly, it's like, just start. Like, just don't wait. Just like whatever steps you need to take to make it happen, like just don't procrastinate. The amount of life that just passes in a heartbeat. And we think we've got the privilege of time, and we don't. One thing I learned out, and health as well, like we're not designed to last forever, unfortunately. And so without a doubt, it's don't bet that you're going to have the time to do it later. Like prioritize it. And that's where, everyone told me, don't sell that investment property, don't sell your house. Like, that's crazy talk. And I couldn't have made a better decision. Like, I've never been happier. So going with your gut and taking the steps that need to be taken in your direction, not everyone else's.
100% agree with that. That's sick. Is there anything you would have done differently or changed on your trip?
Oh, I should have researched your question before. Okay. Differently. Honestly, no. No. Every single shitty situation or hard situation were like, they're also the highlights. Like, that's where I learn the most. No, actually. But still, that's a highlight. This is a hard one. There was one situation where I was on Highway 1 and it was the end of the day. I was like 150 Ks in this day, like tired and just wanted to get it done. And I came to a really narrow bridge, and it was like end of a long weekend. Everyone was going home, freaking busy. And I was waiting for a gap in the traffic to leg it across this like tiny bridge. And legged it, didn't obviously make it in my rearview mirror. I saw a whole bunch of cars behind me, saw a truck coming around the blind corner ahead of me. And I tried to make myself small in this situation, which is what I learned, which is why it's a good thing that it happened, is you make yourself big. Like you take up the space in the road, you force other people to slow down behind you. And I didn't. I'm like squeezed myself along the side, and unfortunately, like the person right behind me wanted to get through, and they tagged my handlebars when they were passing because they didn't want to hit the truck, obviously, either. And that was the only situation I was in on the whole trip where I was just like, that I just so close to dying right there. And the spin-off of that was just, fuck, I've never been more grateful for every line on my face, for every white hair I grow. Like, I'm so happy for them to be there, because we don't get a choice when the number's up. And it could be driving to and from work. It could be like something that shows up in your body that is going to like put a really short time frame on the rest of your days. We don't know what it is, but that was really close to being mine. And it made me ultra appreciative for every day I get, and every birthday, and every moment I can rinse out of life, I will.
100%. For those days, I'm sure you had them where you didn't want to get out of your tent and go for a ride, or you weren't motivated to do something. Was there anything you kind of listen to, or anything you do as a ritual, or anything you have to kind of get motivated to go and do that?
Great question. I'm such a fiend for this stuff. Like, I pillage from so many different sources, especially in that environment where you're alone and you don't have certain people you can draw on. But in saying that, I did call certain people when I needed their influence. And I've got a really tight crew that I just pump up, and we're just like so tight. So whether it was a call, I've got certain podcasts that I'll always fall back on. Music just became like a godsend out there. And there's playlists. Like one of these songs came on the last lap of the 10,000K. It was like on a playlist that I've got for like hill climbs and grinding.
Yeah.
And it came on and I just like fucking skyrocketed up the mountain. I was like, where did all this like energy come from? Like it's so neurologically wired in me, that song. So multiple sources, but definitely podcasts. I've got a lot of like go-tos. And I have a lot of like sayings that I always fall back on as well. That have got me through when, you know, you just don't feel like it. And as soon as you just like tie up your shoes, it's usually okay. You got it. But some of those mornings, yeah, really tired.
Don't want to do anything. Your body's over it. Yeah.
It's like, oh, rest day, please. Like, nah, like, like time's quicking along and don't get a chance to sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but when I sleep hard, like solid.
Yeah. Good. You had a lot of practice. You're down. You've got it dialed.
Oh my God. You have no idea. Like if I need to, I can put my head on anything and fall asleep now. Yeah. Like it's very valued in my life, sleep.
I'm with you on that one every day.
I was watching my attitude change if I didn't have it. I was like, whoa, like that go-getter mentality became like, I don't know if I can, like just not in it. And like sleep is the biggest one. Sleep, nutrition, far out, game changer. And the environment that you put yourself around, huge game changer.
100%. Easy. Well, it's been super, super rad to chat to you, chat about your experience. It's always positive.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Darren. Honestly, like anytime, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me and for your time. I really do appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun reflecting back on it all and looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, perfect. So stoked. Makes me so stoked to hear that.
My pleasure.
Easy. Well, I'll let you get on with the rest of your day. Thanks so much for coming on, as I said. And I'll let you know when this goes up.
Thank you so much, Darren. Cheers. Have a lovely afternoon. See you, mate.
I will. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
There we go. That was the episode with Annie Ford. I hope you really enjoyed that one because I enjoyed chatting with her. As per usual, if you want to help out the podcast, tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your brother, tell your nan, tell your dog, whatever. Share it around. Share it on socials. Do your thing. Thanks again to Trek, Franked, Fist, Shred, Lead Out, Sports, Tailored Trails, and Dirt Surfers. And Capped Out, for helping us out and keeping this podcast rolling. There'll be some new merch coming up very shortly, but until then and until the next episode, make sure you get out and have a bunch of fun. See you next time.